connect, serve, and grow is what you can expect at the House of Reconciliation. Leadership, community, education, wellness, and participation is part of our plan for your spiritual growth and success. Family and faith is a core value for the House of Reconciliation, working to help people find their purpose. Want to make an impact in the kingdom? Ready to tap into your future? Meet us at the House Sundays with Pastor Reginald Campbell, www.houseofreconciliation.org.
Good morning, and thank you again for joining us. We're at the House of Reconciliation, the Greenville campus, and we want to welcome in those that are joining us from Greenwood, and of course, to our virtual campus this morning, and to all of our friends and guests and those that follow. Please, if you have an opportunity, please go to YouTube and subscribe, like, and share. So I've seen the numbers on YouTube start to go up. We thank you for all of our social media platforms and for the engagements that you guys have been participating in. What I want to do this morning is talk to you in brief. We know that the weather is chilly here in South Carolina. We've just overcome 2 weekends of snow, ice, and rain. So we're kind of getting past the point of the midway point in this month. And the reason I keep, I guess, as some people would say, harping on it or reminding it, is that if we're not positioning ourselves to take a shift, then the question becomes, when will we? And the reason I say that is because we're about 5, maybe 5.5 weeks away from spring. And if nothing is planted now, if there's no restructuring in our behavior, no restructuring in our mindset, no adding new disciplines in our lives, and exiting some things from our life, then we came into a new year with the same old behavior, the same old habits, same old attitude, same old situation. So what changes? What changes? I mean, if we were like, man, 2022 is going to be different, 2022 is going to be a great opportunity, and I think sometimes we're waiting on it to happen from something else and through someone else, and it has to happen in us. So this morning, we just want to talk briefly. It's a new year, New Year's resolution. We've talked various times about the great hangover. Here is something I'm going to give you as, if you want to write, is a pinpoint. Fear will suffocate your gifts and talents. Fear. This is the time, this is the month. Many people are closing out a fast. Many people are in the middle of a fast. But what really happens is fasting is about regulating yourself and bringing the body, mind, and spirit in together, so then we can operate. Instead of getting 20% of our lives, we can move from 20% to 35%. And then in a couple of weeks, move from 35% to 45%. And then by spring, be operating in our lives, our gifts, our talents, our relationship with God, as well as deciding if we're going to go back to school in the spring, or we already in school, then we got to stick and stay. And one of the first things is you had purpose before anybody ever had an opinion. Now, what I want to dabble with is sometime what hurts you more than other people is the opinion that you have about yourself. So this is where the scripture is going to come this morning, Proverbs 18 and 21. You can read it at your leisure. This is what I'm saying. We can suffocate our gifts and talents because of the mindset we have. Now, here's what it says. Death and life is in the power of the tongue. So now we're at a point in purpose over people, purpose over me, purpose over a person, purpose over corporate, is my mouth can kill and hinder and create more stumbling blocks than anybody in your circle. Sometimes it's not your spouse. Sometimes it's not the people on your job. Sometimes it's not the community that you live in. Sometimes we speak those things that create stumbling blocks. Because here's what we do. Death and life is in the power of the tongue, and those that love it shall eat the fruit. So if we speak negativity in a year, because we really, and I've studied it, but I haven't had a chance to get to it yet, we're in the year of redemption. We're in a decade of redemption. So this is why I say to people, your inherited gifted lineage, no one's going to discover it. It's meant for you to discover. And the problem is we are so associated with things coming to us. And why is that? Because we have many times the mindset of a victim. Like I said, your own tongue is linked to your heart. Your heart is linked through your talk. Because really, here's what people don't really understand sometimes, is that your mind sometimes is not only a battlefield, but your mind many times is just a neutral field. And depends on what takes charge in your mind. What takes charge in your mind can easily be the feelings and emotions. What takes charge in a person's life can easily be the attitude. What takes charge in a person's life can easily be stumbling blocks that are put there by others. And once they're removed, you're still stumbling. You know why? Because now it's in your mind. And so now when it hits your mind, the first department it goes to is your emotions. And then the second department it goes to is your past. So then when your emotions in your past, now you adopt an attitude where it was supposed to be a learning curve. So how you respond. Because we'll say things and then we'll say, well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Yes, you did, because that's what was in your heart. And your heart is influenced by your thoughts. And if your thoughts are still regulated by the devastation that you had and the issues that you had at 12 or 14 and dramatized, because someone had sent me over, and we didn't have time today to pull it up, but they sent me over how an elderly person, they said generation trauma, where someone was yelling at your grandmother and yelling at your grandfather. And so then when they got older, they yelled at somebody. And then when they had children, they yelled at them. Somebody has to break the barrier. Somebody has to break the barrier. And so we don't understand. It is not so much as the enemy that sets us up as we set up ourselves with what comes out of our mouth. Because when we are hit a wall, hit a stumbling block, hit a curve, now all of a sudden, instead of going into our gifts and talents and who we're supposed to be and evaluating it, we go back to what broke us. We go back to the broken glass. We go back to how things have hurt us. We go back to living among the dead. So then we talk dead things because we never addressed the issue from our past. So now bitterness comes up. So now bitterness is rooted in the spirit. So everything that comes up is seen through bitterness. It's seen through anger. It's seen through struggle. So now this is what comes up. And so for something that you could have stepped by, stepped over, stepped through, now becomes a trap. Because as older people would say, now it has stewed in your mind. And so now you're not functioning from your gifts. You're not functioning from your talents. You're functioning from your anger. You're functioning from your bitterness. You're functioning from a broken moment. You're functioning from when your dad walked out of your life, your mom walked out of your life. So now everything that you respond from is from pain. Not who you are. You have to be careful what you allow to incubate in your heart. Because most of the time when people are not happy and not balanced, the easiest companion is negativity, is brokenness, is emptiness. And so then in this moment, which should be a moment of redirecting our lives, it goes and it gets with anger and it gets with violence. And now it has a label. It's called being a victim. So where you should have been sowing, you should have been preparing. You should have been developing. You should have been checking on your gifts, checking on your seed, see where I am. This is why in school we have pop quizzes. Stuff will pop up, but because I'm not balanced. Proverbs 11 and 1. I'm not balanced in my spirit. I'm not settled. I'm still caught between anger and being a victim. So the easiest thing to do is to associate with what you're familiar with. So here's what it says. So in my conclusion, and I know you may have a little squeaking, but there's another whole story for that, so we won't deal with that. But here's the thing, death and life. Because if you speak where you're supposed to be, if you talk like you're supposed to talk, if you speak as though there is direction in your life, if you speak as though there is purpose in your life, then you can neutralize the toxic things in your life. You can neutralize them. They're not just going to go away. An individual just can't fix them. You got to neutralize them until you can get them out of the behavior and out of your mind. And they will rise up 3-4 years later. But now, this is what the whole point of, I think it's John 16 and 13, about being led by the Spirit of God. It becomes a spiritual equilibrium. It's like we have two ears, and every individual has an equilibrium. And if their equilibrium is off balance, then they walk off balance. They can't hold their balance. And so some of us are holding too much. And so I want to share with you this morning as we get ready to close. And this is a situation as far as if you hear the squeaking, nobody can fix, because there were some things that were not done. That's why it's doing what it's doing now. So we're not going to sweat that, because it was fine when we started. But like I always tell people, when you deal with an anointed situation, sometimes the enemy will use things, and sometimes the enemy and the adversary will set up things prior to. So then when you come in, you already have booby traps. So here's the thing. At this point, what is the day? The day is, what's the date? 23rd. This you have to see as a turning point. And I use this title, Turn the Direction of Your Tongue. Don't let your tongue speak from your past. Don't let your tongue speak and make excuses. Own it. Accept it. Grow from it. Own it. Accept it. Bad point, bad year, bad childhood, bad job. My mind wasn't right. See, because sometimes we can point the finger at the job, supervisor, at the distance of the job, all these things. But sometimes we got to point the finger and say, did I give my best? Or have I allowed violent coaching from my own self? Because I'm going to say this to you. We build more stumbling blocks than people put in our way. We build more stumbling blocks than the adversary put in our way. Because what you haven't settled and what you haven't moved on from, every time you move, the ashes of your past and the hallucination and the imagination and the illusion and the hypothetical thinking is like a dusty house. So we see everything through a broken glass, through broken windows, because we have been fighting. Watch this. We've been fighting that we're broken. Denial. We've been fighting that I didn't have enough resources. We've been fighting that I made the wrong choice. We've been fighting that I allowed my friends to influence me. We've been fighting that it really did hurt me. So as long as we fight it, we can't heal from it. As long as we deny it, we can't come to grips with it. As long as we hide from it, we can't stand up and address it. Because what happens is the excuses of life. Now I make an excuse for my actions. And I use the word sorry as a caveat for I really meant it. Like I said this about a year and a half ago. I'm sorry doesn't mean I've changed. See, I'm sorry is a hook to get you to tolerate my continuous dysfunction. And so what we don't get is it tears everybody down. It tears down the family. It tears down the kids. It destroys the seeds. So sometimes you have a gift and a talent that's from your innate inheritance that you haven't seeked out. As old folk would say, sought out. And every time it tries to come visit you in your mind, there's no room for it. None. Because of the anger. Because of the denial. And not owning it and accepting it. So there's some things literally, psychologically, we need to have a funeral for. We need to have a funeral for. Because see, before you can get the best out of you, you got to end the worst of you. Right. And this is why we have the flex of 2022. This is why on the 23rd day of 2022, many people who had New Year's resolutions, many people who said they were going to do this, many people who said they were going to get their finances together, many people who said they were going to come back to worship services. I'm going to start going back to church. I'm going to find me a church. I'm going to do all that. It's highly impossible to do. Because we're still in a battle with ourselves. And so what I really wanted to teach was the second part of it says, or else, here's what really happens. If you don't have a plan, you're already dead. That's what I really wanted to teach. But if I'd have tried to teach that, we'd have more issues. And this is nobody's fault. This is just something that we got to correct. But if you, first of all, if I had something to say as I get ready to close, is seek God and dig within yourself for vision. Because vision is critical to anything that you're going to do. See, you can have all the emotions, you can have all the energy, you can think you have ingredients, but if you don't have vision, when the road gets tough, where are you going? You're going right back to the junkyard of feelings and emotions. And this is what I would say to every person that's wrapped up in anything outside of themselves and God. Ask yourself why you're wrapped up. Why do you have more faith in other things and other people who let you down than you have in yourself and God? Why will you defend your favorite team even if they lose? You'll criticize them, but you still have faith in something that hadn't produced in decades. I'm talking about soccer. I'm talking about baseball. I'm talking about basketball. I'm talking about anything. I'm talking about even with a company. I've been in this company 20 years, and you've only received in the last 20 years 3% increase in your pay. When we're dealing with 21% of inflation. Tell me how well that's going to work out. You're saying you're going to get it together, but technically, only 4% of people in the world have vision. So without vision, there is no plan. Ask me, the difference is this. It's real simple. Without vision, I continue to function in what I feel. I wake up today, all of a sudden I had no plan for the day. But I wake up today and my feelings take charge. I wake up today and one of my associates called me and said, hey, let's go get a cheeseburger. You see, a person like me would say, well, your friend must don't have nothing planned either. That's not a day in your life that you should not have order and a plan. That's not a day in your life that you just, I'm just about that, like, just whatever happens, just happens. That shouldn't be a day in your life. And let me give you something real quick. A job is not a plan. Babysitting the kids, going to the grocery store, washing your car, changing your oil. It's not a plan for your life. Those are items on the list. Plans in your life is when you reach inside of you and you're putting something in place to develop or strengthen you. Plans for your life is when you sit down and say, I got 3 hours to study this class. That's plans in yourself. Plans in yourself is I'm going to the college to talk to them about having an evaluation. Plans in your life is researching and studying what type of career and what should I be doing as an entrepreneur. That's pulling something out of you. God didn't put you here empty. He didn't put you here broken. Too much of everything else is controlling you. So then, no, you don't have a vision. No, you don't have a destination. And no, you don't have a plan. And no, you don't have a strategy. And no, you don't have a point of execution. I really wanted to talk about You Already Did because everything I've dealt with the last week and a half, the Lord kept saying, if there's no plan, there's no result. So I had to study what was a plan. A plan to be someone else's firefighter. A plan to be someone else's on their rescue team. So because here's what happens. Some people look for problems in order to have something to do. So some people look for, I tell you, when I know I'm headed in that vein, then I know all kind of stuff start happening. Well, see, some people look for problems in order to have something to do. So what I call it is they have busy noise. They don't have productive noise. I told an individual that was very, very close to me for years, and I said, they always like, I'm busy. Oh, I'm busy. And I said to them one day, I said, but are you productive? And that killed that relationship. And then let me explain to you why. If there's no results for the day and no progress, then how can there be a future? If there's no stick-to-itness, no traction, and let me say this to you, when you start germinating, here's what a lot of people run away from. You meet friction. But every seed that comes up out of the ground has to push the initial dirt out of its way. Every seed. So what does that mean? If you plan to grow, you're going to have conflict where you are. People are not going to understand what you're doing, why you're doing it. Oh, what you do, and they're going to start labeling you. And so you hear things like, oh, you think you this and you think you that. And people asked me the other day yesterday, about all the playoff games and all the college games that was going on. And they was like, who's your team? I said, mm-mm. I look at the strategy. I don't know what you're talking about, man. You're rooting for them. I said, let me tell you why. It doesn't matter who's playing. If neither one of them has vision, neither one of them has a plan, and neither one of them has a strategy. Because in any game you play, you're going to have to figure out a different way to win. And here's the kicker. There are good coaches, but what make great people are those that know how to adjust to the moment rather than being conquered by the moment. See, you can have a great coach and he can have a great plan. You can go out there on the field, on the court, on the baseball field, do whatever. But what happens when the other team adjusts to what you're doing? That shows me if you only can stick with the plan you wrote, then your plan has no flexibility to it. So if your life doesn't even have vision, then how do you respond to the stumbling blocks? So y'all, some of y'all waking up now. So you got to have vision. And then your vision is, I'm supposed to be there at this time. But the plan was to get there by 2, but I've got 8 stumbling blocks. What's the value of the stumbling blocks? So now at 9, I got to make adjustments. But see, if you still stuck on going and you got a flat tire, you don't have no backup plan, then you don't have no strategy. You don't have a friend of mine said taxi yesterday. You don't have one of those car riding places in your phone and already your car. So now you got to do all of this. Then you got to be verified, and you may not have but 1% on your phone. Yeah, well, but see, sometimes you're already walking. You see, this is why I say to people who ride around with the gas light on. And you said you were gonna go by the gas station. But because of it's too cold. So you got enough things to deal with on the next day. Why are you adding to it? You got enough pop-ups in your life. You got enough pop-ups. Well, I'm getting tired. I ain't getting tired right now. I don't go gang. I don't get tired right now. Now you out there sliding all over the highway, running 60, almost about to run in the back of people, running off the road. It's cold, snowing, and you're down to 3 miles before you run out of gas. Now the key is calling from the house, and everything about you is under tension. Unnecessary pressure. Turn the direction of your tongue. So when your past says, hold on, you don't need that, you got to recognize that's the enemy. That's the enemy. So when you're still operating from what you was, you will never discover who you are. And we wonder, why are we not there? I'm going to ask you a powerful question. Were you really ready for the moment? Why you root for a team or organization that keep losing? But you want to be the great hope? Or you keep rooting for a team that everybody on the team basically in real life, in football years and baseball years, is 99. So your whole team, 120 years old, that's the team average. And they gonna make it, they gonna make it. Father Time never loses. You know why? You're comfortable in your mess. And I'm calling you to get up and get involved in your future. God bless you. I'll see y'all soon.